Hello, Buckeye fans. I'm Patrick Murphy, live from the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, live on the 10-yard line of the practice field of the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. We just got done with Ryan Day's press conference ahead of the UCLA game. I will be joined shortly by Dave Biddle, who had to stay home but watched the press conference from his home, and we will give our thoughts on what we heard from the Buckeye head coach heading into the penultimate home game of the regular season, which is crazy to think about. The biggest topic, I think, today focused on the trenches and specifically the offensive line. We'll talk a little defensive line as well. But the question that everyone seemed to have, and I think fans would agree with this, is the right guard and what's going to happen with Tegra Shabola. Josh Padilla, we've seen rotate in there throughout the season, but he was out on Saturday, which meant we saw a little Gabe Van Sickle, who moved over from left guard. We saw a little Ethan Onianwa in there. Ryan Day's answer when asked about the right guard position was that they are going to, and I quote, split duties. He didn't get into specifics on how that would break down, but I think that, to me at least, and we'll see what Dave thinks when he gets in here, means the Buckeyes are going to at least continue with the approach that they've had. Does that mean does that mean Tegra Shabola, thinking about too many offensive line names, Tegra Shabola plays less on Saturday against UCLA and going forward? Potentially. I think that it will depend somewhat on the rest of the guys. Hey, Dave.
Hello, Patrick.
How are we?
Good. Running around with a chicken with his head cut off, but
Nice.
Hey, it's football season, right? We're used to that.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking right guard. You listened to Ryan Day. I was just saying the quote he used when asked about that position going forward was split duties. To me, that means we'll probably see more of the same, although maybe the duties are more split than they have been in the past. What did you make of what Ryan said about that position in particular?
Yeah, I love reading between the lines. That's what we do, right? I mean, AI could watch the press conference or hear the press conference, just spit out exactly what he said. Yeah, to me, I agree with you. I think I know your inclination there. Like, he definitely sounds like he is on the verge of making Josh Padilla the starting right guard. And, like, that might have already happened if Padilla didn't get banged up. That's how it sounded to me. It sounded like the way he answered the question was almost just like, yeah, the status quo is not working, and the guy that had been coming in, it needs more of a chance. That was my take on it.
What's curious about the situation is, I think Tegra Shabola is on over 25 starts. Might be up to 27, 28. I'm not sure offhand, but this is a guy who started on the national championship team, right? And it wasn't perfect last year, if we're being honest. He rotated with Austin Seerveld throughout the season, in the playoff, all that. But he was the starter on the national championship team. He has continued to be the starter for the number one team in the country. I thought he played better 2 weeks ago, and then this past week was maybe one of his worst performances. At least if you look at the negative, there were some plays where he just did not block anyone. So if you are Ryan Day, what has and Tyler Bowen and this offensive staff, what do you think has been the hesitancy? Is it just because he's played so much and the other guys haven't? Why when we're seeing this? Because it's not all been bad. There has been some good from Tegra Shabola, but Josh Padilla, again, small sample size, when he's gotten out there, it seems to move easier than when Tegra's in the game.
Yeah, and I think you're like me. Like, a lot of people don't put any validity in PFF. Some people put, like, all their validity in there. I think you and I both think PFF they do a good job. Do they know every time what the exact assignment is? No, but these guys are football experts. They break down film for a living. They can usually tell. I think PFF does a good job. I know you do as well. I mean, Padilla's grading out much, much higher than Tegra. Now, Tegra has more snaps, so it's much lesser of a sample size with Padilla. But, yeah, I do think it's the experience and the potential of Tegra. And it's not just the potential, like, he's never shown it. Like, he has shown it, including against Penn State. I thought he played really well against Penn State. I thought that was his best game this year as a Buckeye. And, yeah, he's now made – so he started all 16 games last year. He started all 9 so far this year. He's made 25 straight starts. So he's a fourth-year junior. He's a fourth-year junior, so you're thinking, here we have this guy who looks like he's straight out of Central Casting. He looks like he's more of a tackle, actually, than a guard, but still, this is a hulking human being, a great young man, not a good young man, a great young man from all accounts. We've talked to him, but you never know. But then you talk to everybody else, are like, yeah, this guy is next level, like, person. So I'm sure there's a lot of factors here. Veteran, very experienced. The potential is there. They like him as a person. They want Tegra to like seize that right guard job, but it just hasn't happened. And I do think Padilla, if he didn't get hurt, I wonder if he would have started this past game. I think when they go to Ann Arbor on November 29th, Padilla will be the starting right guard.
Do you think it depends how quickly he gets back? Because do you want to throw him in right away if say he plays say he doesn't play this week, though it does sound like Ryan Day did say that it sounds like both him and Philip Daniels should have a full week of practice. But just to play devil's advocate here, if he doesn't play this week and maybe has to work his way back in against Rutgers next week, do you feel comfortable starting him at Michigan, or do you think they start Tegra and see how it goes?
Yeah, it depends on what the injury is. Is it like one of those things where like he definitely not like he could play out there on one leg if it was a national championship game? No, like is it one of those things where he easily could play right now? We just want to be extra cautious, which it sounds like that's what it is. Maybe not this past game, but going into this week, let's say he doesn't play, but it's one of those things where he definitely could have played him and very effective. We just like, why risk it? If it's that. And he's able to play against Rutgers, I say just roll with it. If you think he's your best right guard, go with it. Now, if he's banged up more than I think, he doesn't play at all against UCLA, doesn't play at all against Rutgers, that's a different conversation. Then you might play it safe and go with Tegra, but Tegra has to show that he's playing well, that he's not taking this, because this could go one of two ways with Tegra. I mean, this could make him like go like just down in the dumps and just be like, oh, well, screw this. They don't like it. Or it could fire him up. And that's what I hope happens, because you get that, you light a fire under that 6'6", 327-pound man-child. That'd be good for the Buckeyes. So, I tend to think the way Coach Day answered the question today, Patrick, I think that Padilla's probably the first example that I use is probably could play right now and be effective, not just could play and like run out there and kind of hold his own, but they're trying to be cautious with him. But will be interesting to see how much, if at all, Padilla plays against UCLA.
And I wonder if there is something to, needing to light that fire under Tegra by having, more, when he has been pushed, when it looks like there might be somebody pushing to take his job, he does seem to respond and have some of his best games. So I don't know if this is, not only looking to get the best guys out there, but also maybe a bit of a motivational tactic for Tegra. Ethan Onianwa also mentioned in this conversation, we saw him get some first-team reps on Saturday. This is a guy they were pretty excited about coming into the season, a guy they thought might be their starting left tackle at one point. What's your read on this situation? Obviously, they brought him over from Rice. I believe the NIL money is pretty good from things that we've heard. Like, what do you make of Onianwa playing as little as he has this season?
It's interesting. Yeah. I mean, like, I know he's making like right around $1 million. He's not making like 10 million, but he's not making 500,000. He's making $1 million, and he came here to be the left tackle, and then they moved him to right tackle. It's like, okay, well, it didn't work out at left tackle. He's gonna be the starting right tackle. Then Philip Daniels beat him out. It's like, okay, he's the sixth man. Life is good when you're paying your sixth man $1 million. And then
for him,
it didn't work out. And then Padilla replaced him as the backup right guard when Padilla was already the backup center. And then now you think, well, okay, Philip Daniels misses the game last week, so Onianwa was going to get the chance to start at right tackle. No, Ian Moore did. So now, and I think Onianwa was a really good young man, Ethan Onianwa, but he's the eighth man on the offensive line making $1 million a year. So, again, he'll be taking, if he does play pro football, he'll be taking a pay cut for sure. But, hey, life is good when – I've heard people say, like, that's like the one big miss they've had, like in the portal. Like, that's actually still a very good hit rate. I totally agree with that, especially when you get Philip Daniels at a discount, as some of the people that I know in collectives have told me, like, well, yeah, we overpaid for Onianwa, but at least we got Daniels on a discount. So it worked out maybe when you look at the total cost. But, yeah, it's interesting, man. Like, yeah, he went from being a surefire starter to now not being the sixth man and not even being the seventh man, really being the eighth man on the offensive line.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's done pretty well in the transfer portal, but that does seem to be the one miss. Shifting over to the other side of the trenches there, Dave, I know you talked about Edric Houston and his play on the BM5 yesterday. Ryan Day, complimentary of Edric, said Tywone Malone could have played, the old refrain that we hear, which is what we expected. But what did you make of the guys playing next to Caden McDonald? I know Jason Moore's name was also brought up when asked about Ryan Day. It seems like they've at least got some depth there, assuming Tywone is back this week.
Yeah, I mean, like Will Smith had been playing well. Getting Jason Moore and Ryan Day was like, speaking of reading between the lines, you can see why Jason Moore is not playing a lot. It's not because he's doesn't have the physical ability. It's not because he's like too young. He's in his third year sophomore. But consistency. How many times in that minute answer did Ryan Day, he talked up Jason Moore while always mentioning, got to be more consistent, consistency. He used the word consistent or consistency maybe 20 times in that 60-second answer. So we know Jason Moore needs to bring it. He needs to be more consistent in practice in the games. But man, Larry Johnson, it was last spring of 2024 when Larry Johnson said Jason Moore is like the ideal 3-tech in our defense. Ideal 3-tech in our defense. So, and obviously he doesn't even need to be that, but if they can just get production out of Jason Moore as a backup, that's huge, because you're seeing these backup defensive tackles, which was clearly my biggest concern coming into the year was backup defensive tackle. I thought Caden McDonald was going to be a stud. Dare I say he's played even better than I thought, and I was very, very bullish on him. I thought Edric Houston would be a very good 3-tech, and then he's had an up and down year. He played really well now, his third start of the season last week. Maybe he's rounding into form. Tywone Malone has exceeded expectations. There's no doubt about that. He has started 6 of the 9 games. And maybe the only reason Edric started this past game is because Tywone was out. But now you got, being able to sit out Tywone, then we're able to, get Edric back in there. If you get both those guys playing good, which it looks like that's going to be the case, next to Caden McDonald, who might be the best 1-tech in the country, that's huge. And Will Smith Jr., then backing up Caden McDonald, then Jason Moore coming in off the bench. You still have Jarquez Carter. All of a sudden, defensive tackle, you've got some good depth there. And that's huge for Ohio State, because that was, like, as I said, that was my one concern coming into the year defensively for the Buckeyes.
One thing that Ryan Day didn't talk about today, wasn't asked about, and we didn't talk about it, well, at least when I was on with you post-game, Jaden Fielding on Saturday. 2 45-plus yard field goals. I think that's big for the Buckeyes. I know he's got to make them in games where the pressure is on a bit more than when you're playing Purdue on the road. But what did you make of Jaden Fielding and just knocking? I know the 49-yarder, it was close, but still went in, still counts.
Career long, yeah. He's always had the leg. He missed one a couple years ago as a redshirt freshman at Michigan. It was a long one. I think they had a penalty that backed it up even more. Maybe it was a timeout. It was it was bad weather. He barely missed it. I believe it was a 50-yard field goal. He's always had the leg. And now you look at him, man, he's perfect on extra points. He's 11 of 13 in field goals. That's a good percentage, as we all know. You're up there, you're over 80%. Not just Julian Sand can be over 80% at things, So it's good. It's really good for his confidence. And really, since the Michigan game, he's kicked really well. He kicked well in the playoffs. Yeah, he's missed 2 field goals this year, but again, 9 of 11. And the thing was, like, with him, it was like, yeah, but like the ones he is making is like, he's making the ones that are like 20 yards, 30 yards. He's not doing anything 40 and longer. As you said, he didn't just nail a couple of 40-yarders. He nailed a 49-yarder and a 45-yarder. So good for Jaden Fielding. He's done a good job kicking the ball off this year. He hasn't kicked 3 balls into the stands in the same game. I know he was dealing with a little bit of an injury last year that he was trying to keep under wraps. So, yeah, I was curious if Jackson Corville, the transfer from Ball State, might beat him out this year, young man from Centerville. But they're able now. Jaden Fielding's having a good year, which is good for him, good for the team, good for his confidence going into the rest of the season. And now, since Jackson Corville never redshirted at Ball State, can redshirt him at Ohio State, and he's got 2 more years after this one.
Anything else that stood out from you from Ryan Day's press conference that we need to let the people know about?
Not too much. I like the way he answered the question about individual awards. It's like he has to be clear. Like, the team goals are paramount. Yes, team goals are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then, yes, is it fun to win individual awards? I like how he answered that, because we all know he can't come out there and be like, out there like with confetti talking about Julian Sand for Heisman, But he definitely wants Julian Sand to win the Heisman, or J.J. Smith. But Julian, I don't see how there's really a path for Jeremiah, because he's right now Julian's so far ahead of him. And last time I checked, if Jeremiah gets stats, unless they're like end of rounds or something, Julian will get those stats too. So if they were like dead even right now, it might be a different scenario. But Julian's so far ahead of him. Julian's really the only like legitimate Heisman contender, and on this team, I think he's going to win it, Patrick. And it's going to be fun looking at, if we do get our dream scenario in Indianapolis, the Buckeyes and Hoosiers are going to be playing for the Big Ten championship, the number 1 seed in the CFP, and which quarterback brings home the Heisman. So that's exciting. So yeah, I like the way Coach Day answered the question. About individual awards, like team goals have to be the most important. Boom, boom, boom. But yeah, of course we want to win individual goals as long as the guys know the team goals are paramount. And I like what you said about the running backs too. Keep all 4 of those guys ready. They're going to need all 4 of them.
Yeah, I mentioned breaking tackles, which I know has been a topic of conversation, but I'm not sure he's talked about that all that much this year, but mentioned Bo Jackson doing that a couple times. Also was asked about some young guys that popped this week. And I think we saw not just the young guys, but guys that don't play a ton, Bryson Rogers and guys like that. While it came because of injuries or minor things, I think it's always good when you can get those guys in there in a Big Ten game. Ryan Day was asked about, is that done with an idea to the future? And it's like, yeah, I think you always have to be looking ahead to what's coming. And he didn't say this specifically, but keeping these guys engaged, keeping them happy so that they don't just hop in the transfer portal as soon as the season's over. I think that was probably an underlying story of Saturday that they were able to do some of that.
No doubt about it. And coaches might say, well, I don't need to keep my players happy. Well, in this day and age, you always needed to an extent. Like you better in this day and age, you're going to have guys hop in the portal. The culture, everything he's doing over there, man. Obviously the winning, national championship, still basking, everything that's going on. And I know they got to get the Michigan stuff off their, that monkey off their back, but the culture that he's created, the type of young men that are over there, just next level young men. Tim May brought up the APR has never been higher. And that translates to the football field because we're seeing a very intelligent football team out there. Everything Ryan Day is doing, mental health, that used to be a stigma. If I'm, 10 years, 15 years ago, you're a football player, you're down in the dumps. You probably couldn't have said anything. You didn't feel like you could say anything. Ryan Day's going out of his way to make sure his guys, they've got I think they've got 5 different sports psychologists in the building. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I love that he's taking the stigma away from that. Everything he's doing, obviously winning games at Ohio State is paramount. If you're doing all that other stuff and you're getting your ass kicked, he'd be out of here. But he's winning. He has a great culture. And just the way that he takes care of his players is just really, really, really cool. So I don't think Ohio State could be in a better situation, man. It's really crazy going from Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer, Ryan Day. I know a year of Luke Fickell interim mixed in, but Luke is also a great guy. I mean, Buckeye fans, college football, having the head coach is the most important thing. You have to have the right head coach. Ask Alabama before and after. Alabama's having a good year this year, but look at Alabama before Saban got there. Look at Alabama between Bear Bryant and Nick Saban. Ohio State's consistency is because they've gone from Jim Tressel to Urban Meyer to Ryan Day, 3 legends of their sport.
Yeah, look at Texas. I think that's the best example from Mac Brown until now, right? All right, Dave. Well, you get back to your busy day there. I'm going to get back to getting home. And thank you all for tuning in. And we'll talk to you later this week.